We really want to make note of and appreciate the voices of our students. And as always, we learn the most from our children. And in this process, have heard from them and the approaches and what they've let us know. So thank you very much for helping us interpret that. And then lastly, just wanted to express to our board and to our community just the gratitude that we have for the parents, families, and the community and how it has helped in this process and strengthened it. And we think beyond sexuality education and health and wellness that we have gained things about processes in general from this.
Any questions? Any ways we could help you with knowing all you need to know to make this next decision?
There's a lot of information that's going to be sent via email. What listserv do parents need to be on? Is that a school listserv, classroom listserv, district listserv, or some other listserv they need to know about?
Well, it's a great question, and we had the opportunity when with a lesson earlier this fall where we found out that we weren't doing the listserv. One person thought it was one listserv and one person thought it was another. So our fabulous tech director, Kurt Nelson, we immediately did some problem solving on that and worked with our ITs at each building and worked with the classroom teachers and the counselors to just clarify exactly to make sure the right listserv it's not necessarily has to be the listserv that you signed up for because we need that to go to all the parents in that classroom. And there are sometimes parents that might not have signed up for a building's listserv. So we have to create a list by students enrolled in that class, which is actually slightly different than a listserv where people sign up voluntarily because we need this to get to every parent.
Yeah, so for K-5, it would go to that class. The teachers in grades 6-12 will send out the syllabus at the beginning of the semester and then the specific emails before the topics are taught. To the class. To the class, yeah, to all of those students enrolled.
Just a question. Do we want to, as a board, ask our questions and comments of Dr. Swayson and Dr. Spencer-Imes now, or do we want to take the remainder of public comment? Because then if you incorporate potentially questions.
I'm fine either way. Are there other additional questions? Okay, your mic wasn't on. So the suggestion was that we just go ahead and move towards public comment, and that seems to be in agreement of the board. So we will move back. Do we need to? Okay, we're going to move right back to public comment, and I'm going to go. I'll call people off the list. You're standing, but you go ahead and go forward. Otherwise, I'll call you. Oh, and I should reiterate that if you've spoken already, please do not speak again. We don't have. We usually only have 45 minutes for public comment. We're way over that. So if you've spoken, you've said your piece. Thanks.
So my name is Janet Bailey. I live at 20655 Southwest 98th Avenue. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing us to speak about our concerns.
Could you identify your city, please?
I live in Tualatin.
Thank you.
So what I'm suggesting, what we are advocating is, we hear about this opt-out. We are advocating an opt-in. Parents are feeling that they are not well informed until after the fact. A lot of times things don't reach home for the kids bringing things home, and opt-out forms are one of them. So an opt-in form would allow parents to thoroughly look at the curriculum, and the student would not be in the classroom unless the parent opts them into the classroom. So we say that parents should review and decide the sexual topics. I'm all for love and respect. I'm all for not abusing people. But when it comes to the sex topics in the CSE curriculum, that's where I put on the skids. Parents should be able to decide what is age appropriate for their child. Passing out condoms to a 7th grade class is not age appropriate. And puberty blockers and puberty lessons to an 8-year-old is not age appropriate. We say that not only the advance notice as to who, we want it to know who it's going to and what form it will be given to the parents, if it's through email or if it's a paper copy. Advance notice is important. You've talked about that as well. You say that instructions and activities are based on information and approved text. I hear you talk about some of the text. You showed it on your screen. That's just a very slight summary of what it is. I've watched the videos. They go far deeper than what you're talking about. Parents should be able to read and decide if they approve the text. That's why I'm suggesting, I'm really pushing the opt-in instead of the opt-out. Because I say comfortable and safe for who? Parents believe that your curriculum is teaching lessons and activities that are not safe and not age appropriate. School districts have adopted gender inclusion, forcing everyone else to change their thoughts and their speech and their attitudes. We don't want our kids to be taught that all forms of sexual behavior are normal and acceptable based on the whim of the moment.
Ms. Bailey, your 3 minutes is up, and I would ask for some clarification.
Yes.
We do have some people in Tualatin or in our school district. Is your address within our school district?
No.
Thank you for speaking. Mr. Milner?
So this is what I have for you to give to you.
Thank you.
And it is just opt out.
My name is Wallace Milner. I live at 2025 Titan Terrace in West Linn. In 1919, in late September, a school by the name of Union High School was founded. You probably don't recognize the name, but 100 years later, it's still around, and I go to it. I'm a senior at West Linn High School. Over that time, over 10,000 students have passed through the doors. 100 years, 100 graduating classes, 100 years of students trained by 100 staffs of teachers sent out into the world to live the lives of 100 different times. 100 years, and not one of those years has been offered proper sexual education. 100 classes, and not one has been given proper preparation for the world. You ask why we should expand our health curriculum to include all orientations. I say because LGBT students suffer depression at far higher rates than straight ones. And I say because studies have shown that this education helps. You ask why we must address the concerns of transgender students. I say because studies have shown these students have far lower life expectancies than cisgender students. And I say because we've seen that expanded sexual education helps. You ask why we must address directly issues like consent. I say because 1 in 5 women will be raped at some point in their lives. And studies have shown time and time again that ignoring the issues does not solve it. There are many here today who say we must wait, who say we have moved too fast, who say we have addressed these issues too soon. Every year longer we wait is another year of students we fail, another generation of students who will not be given the education they need, a generation of students who will not have their education or their identities recognized. I beg of you to implement this curriculum and implement it in its entirety and implement it now. And I say to every person in this room who says that we are rushing, there are 100 years of students who went through life without the proper education they needed, who faced the consequences of a broken system, a system that we can fix today. It is our obligation to take care of this district's students. Ask the students and they will tell you, ladies and gentlemen of the board, we are not rushing. We are 10,000 students and 100 years too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Matilda Mildner.
Hi, I'm Matilda Milner. I live at 2025 Titan Terrace, and I'm a sophomore at Westland High School. I'll be reading a poem on behalf of my peer and friend. She wrote this poem for our school's walkout a couple weeks ago. If I had only known that when I said no, someone would listen. If I had only known that my voice mattered. If only this had been passed when I was younger. If only I had known to get myself out of it earlier. Maybe then I wouldn't be so hurt now. Maybe then I wouldn't be walking around with all this damage. Maybe then I wouldn't be in so much pain. At the age of 13, I said no, but he wouldn't listen. I would zip my pants back up, but they would just get pulled down harder. If only someone could have heard me when I said I didn't like being touched there, or when I pushed away, they could have stopped him from trying again. The only perception that I have of my body now is understanding that it's been used. I was taught to believe that my body is an object, that I am nothing. What if someone had seen when I was slammed against the lockers, or told me I could leave, that someone else would love me? I question every day what my value is to the world. But knowing the value of consent is the most important thing. The only hope I have now is to help others, to teach them that their words have meaning, that their bodies have worth, reassure them that someone will listen to their pain, or better, prevent it from happening to anyone else. By teaching others to listen for consent, to have respect for themselves and others. Because what if this changes something? What if it saves someone like me, just a scared kid longing for a place or a direction? What if, when this new curriculum comes, kids won't be bullied just for having a body, locked in the girls' bathroom because a lineup of boys have some opinion they wanted to say to me, shoved in the hallways, told I was a plank, a good-for-nothing piece of ass that would never please a man? The only hope I have is for a kid to know, to understand that bodies are normal, to know that when they say no, it means no, and if someone doesn't listen, they have the skills to leave. I find it funny how this is the first time I've uttered these words, the first time I've let myself admit the pain I've been through. If I had known that this was the culprit of my pain, or that any part of this was abnormal, maybe I'd be happier. If anyone hears this all I hope is that they never have to endure this much pain and confusion. I can't imagine how different my life would be if the education system had provided me with the knowledge. Maybe then I would be empowered enough to get myself out. Maybe then I wouldn't be speaking in front of you now, speaking about the pain that I hope no one after us ever has to experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Woodman.
Hi, I'm Julie Woodman. My address is 21080 Southwest Windham Hill Court in Tualatin, Oregon, and I am in this district.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for the time and effort you've put into this process. Each one of you at this table has put endless hours speaking to us, communicating inside this type of forum and outside through emails and personal coffee dates. So honestly, we thank you. We thank you for your time and your effort on this curriculum. This plan is multifaceted. There are aspects of this curriculum that I absolutely feel should be taught at every age and grade level. And there are aspects of this curriculum that I absolutely think should not be taught at every age and grade level. Tonight we have heard from a number of speakers about the diverse subject matter of the new curriculum. And as a parent who desires to be actively involved in the education of my children, I have to tell you that a lot of times it has been an absolute joy to be part of the community at Meridian Creek Middle School. I have been so impressed by the many teachers who have posted their daily teaching plans and outlines so that I can actually have input and engaging conversations with a middle schooler, if you can even imagine. This transparent, open communication by these teachers posting on the blog and in their emails has allowed us to have conversations around the dinner table, from everything about what book she's reading in language arts to the daily vitamins she's doing in geometry. Transparent, open, real-time communications with parents is vital to the ability for us to engage and support our schools, our teachers, and our students. Topics are great for an opt-in or an opt-out, but we need more information. Currently, my daughter is in health this semester, and the information has been very limited, even though I have asked through email. I'm here to ask and to implore you to put a plan in place for over-communication with parents when it comes to these topics, starting now as the teaching is happening now. Create easy on-ramps for all health teachers to post their teaching outlines and lesson plans. This will create transparency. Email parents and create places for us to see and review what will be taught prior to class. I'm happy to hear that's happening starting in the year 2019 to 2020 or next year. But my daughter's in the class now, and I just have the choice of opt-in or opt-out. I'd also like to request that the district websites be up to date so that parents have real-time access to what is being taught each year, especially since this will be an ongoing process that is not finished right now.
I'm going to interrupt you. You're at 3 minutes.
Oh, green light. Here we go. Thanks.
But you can go ahead. If you had like a quick statement, I wanted you to be able to wrap up.
Well, my last thing is just that we need this now because our kids are in this now. And so while the future plans are great, I'm concerned because Thursday she's in health.
All right, thank you. Angie Gibson.
It's hard to hear over the clapping. Did you say Angie Gibson?
Yes, thank you.
Angie Gibson, 32096 Southwest Willamette Way, East in Wilsonville. I've been in this district for 20 years. I have an alumni from Wilsonville High School who's 20, a senior in the high school, and an 8th grader at Wood Middle School. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for your service and for the opportunity to speak today. I went to the community meeting last month to understand the concerns that my fellow parents had, because after I read the state standards that were sent to me, it seemed very straightforward. These standards seemed reasonable to me and relevant to all members of our learning community and our society. So if we teach just exactly these standards, then I believe we will have achieved your goal and ours of developing the best thinkers for this world. But I went to the meetings because the district invited input, and I was curious to know why people are concerned. What I learned from my table group at that very valuable meeting, and for others there, and that are also here tonight, is that they just want to be informed about what our children are learning, and they want to be given the opportunity to provide input on how curriculum is developed. And it's this level of input and support that makes this community such an amazing place to raise our children. And so I just am so proud of our school district and everything that they've done to be so transparent in this year-long process and to be so proactive in seeking and integrating the parental input, especially with the changes you've made to the sexual comprehensive plan, sexual education plan. While the process that you have gone through has slowed down the implementation of this mandated education, it's allowed the curriculum to be developed in a manner that matches the principles of this community. Other concerns that I heard were that their children are too young, but like doing algebra, you must first learn your numbers, and then you can name them, and then, oh, I'm running out of time, and then someday you can solve equations. I believe these are complex issues and that they can't be learned in one lesson in 8th grade. But why do I think teaching these standards in a comprehensive way is so important to creating thoughtful people? And it's because times are changing. The world our children live in has some things that are good, such as greater gender acceptance and standards of behavior, but some things for the worse, such as pornography, sexting, and sexual exploitation of children, depression, and suicide. I think that this education aims to arm our children with the skills, language, and knowledge that they need in a modern society as it continues to change. And I just am very thankful for the process that you've given us that has given us the opportunity to learn and to participate. I was surprised to learn from my 20 and 17-year-olds that these types of things weren't previously being taught. But I am happy that future generations will benefit from this. And I would just encourage the board to approve the curriculum. And thank you for allowing us to participate. And for all of the parents that participated, thank you.
It's on.
Good evening. My name is Katie Ham. I live at 29554 Southwest Milano Lane. I'd like to express my wholehearted support for our district to adopt this comprehensive sexuality education plan. Our responsibility as parents, as educators, and as a community is to give our students age-appropriate, fact-based, holistic education. My daughters deserve to grow up in a community in which they and all of their peers feel safe and welcome for being who they are. They deserve to be empowered with facts that are age-appropriate and medically supported. The curriculum is exactly that, and I appreciate your thoughtful and sensitive consideration of this important topic and urge the board to adopt this plan. Thank you.
Goodpaster?
Sean Goodpaster, 29,037 Southwest Villebois Drive South, Wilsonville, Oregon. I have two children in the Wilsonville schools, a first grader at Lowry, a sixth grader at Wood. I am one of the least knowledgeable experts on the topics before the board. You have experts here who have been working with you to develop curriculum that's been discussed with us in some detail and in some intimacy at various school meetings, at board meetings that you've held specifically for this purpose. You've taken testimony and public comment from people with medical backgrounds, public health experience, and education degrees. I can add nothing to that. The one thing I would like to bring to your attention, given the issue before you, some things are well suited for democracy and for the crowd to give input. Where you locate the next school you build, whether you serve pizza or fish on a Friday, whether you take a bus route using the interstate system or the surface streets. The loudest voices should hold sway in those cases. Here you have introduced to us a topic of public concern and public education for the students that you have charge over. I have charge, along with my wife, of two. The responsibilities that you have measure in the thousands, beyond any children or grandchildren that you have in the schools here. You need to respect the women that these little girls will grow to become. You need to respect the men that these little boys will grow to become. In so doing, I trust that the hours, days, weeks, and months that you spent reviewing various curriculum options have yielded scientifically based results that your staff has vetted thoroughly. I have been impressed with the efforts that you have put into that. I urge you to adopt them today. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Damaris Años?
Hi again. My name is Damaris Llanos, and do you want my address again? Or 13105 Wellington Court. I have several nieces, nephews, and cousins in the school district. And just a concern over this curriculum. I'm an RN for 8+ years now and had been working on my master's in family and child health. Took a little break to have my own family. And I came here tonight really just sharing the opinion of the American College of Pediatrics, which states that comprehensive sexuality education goes far beyond sex ed and is dangerous assault on the health and innocence of children. A lot of my agreements with this college comes from my faith-based values. That's part of diversity that we talk about that should be equally respected as all beliefs and represented. But then the RN side of me and the one that's going for that master's and so forth really respects research and seeing the effectiveness of programs like this and what fruits they yield. So that side of me really took to looking at research. And I want to read a little bit of research for you concerning these programs. A scientific assessment of the effectiveness of comprehensive sexuality education in American schools over the last 25 years was recently published. The authors reviewed 60 rigorous studies of 40 school-based CSE programs, studies that were peer-reviewed for selection based on research quality by the Department of Health and Human Services, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or the CDC. Basically, when reviewers applied standards of review to these programs, they found far more evidence of CSE failure than success. And I ask you to really think about that. A study by I'll read just the conclusion of a study by the Institute for Research and Evaluation. Their conclusions was considering programs in U.S. school settings measured by meaningful standards of effectiveness, the claims that CSE has been proven effective were not supported by this combined database containing some of the strongest and most recent outcome studies of the U.S. sex education. In fact, the research evidence indicates the CSE has essentially been ineffective in the U.S. school classrooms and has produced a concerning number of negative effects. The evidence of abstinence education looks far more promising, enough to justify prioritizing educational research. So I ask you tonight to really think about the research findings that have been done over 25 years, 40 rigorous programs in these comprehensive sexuality education programs. Their effectiveness, I think we have much more to lose than we have to gain from these programs. And I really ask that you think about that. My heart breaks for the stories that we've heard.
So you've reached your 3 minutes, and
Okay.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Can I conclude?
Please.
My heart breaks for the students that have shared such stories, and I think we need to look at what we need to do to really outreach to students to say, hey, someone does care for you. There is a future and a hope. What you've gone through does not classify who you are. So thank you.
Liz, I can't read your writing. Liz? Okay. Andy? Okay. Ethan Atterbury.
Hi, my name is Ethan Arterbury. You want me to? Yeah. Okay. So I'm a little tall. So I live on 20213 Hoodview Avenue. I go to Westland High School. I'm a junior right now. And I would like to speak for specifically the LGBT community today, and also the members of the community that are disabled and autistic. So I think that fundamentally a respectful learning environment is key, and I don't believe that the feelings of parents who may disagree with the actions of other students should undermine their individual safety. As when I was in 8th grade, and this is the first time I'm publicly admitting this, I was sexually assaulted by another boy, and later I found inside myself that I was bisexual, but the feelings that caused inside me, I had no way of knowing what the right response to that was. And I thought that I was supposed to stay silent because it wasn't a thing that I wanted to admit to anybody. But I realize now that if I had been educated personally and individual to my life on that topic, then I would have saved a lot of pain that was caused specifically from that dilemma inside of me. And I believe specifically that there are many disabled people and transgender members of our community that are not looked upon in the best way and that are treated with such disrespect, and that is such an injustice to how our community should work and how it does work. As these people, some of them cannot even speak for themselves, but I see them abused and I see them often sexually assaulted without any recourse or way to express that. And if only there was education that helped them, and I strongly believe that this curriculum is necessary to make the lives of future students much easier and much more safe and caring and loving. And I want to make sure that every single person who went through what I went through has a voice in the future and has someone that can help them navigate that and has the knowledge to know how to handle it, what to say. And I strongly urge you to implement this curriculum. That's all. Thank you.
I actually did sign up first on 8 o'clock. Monica Hada is my name. It's okay. My address is 19752 Bennington Court, West Linn, Oregon, 97068. I have 4 children in the West Linn-Wilsonville district, 3 in primary school, 1 in middle school. I love the district. I absolutely love the community. I was at the Bond Summit on Saturday, and I was so inspired by what Dr. Kathy said about the infant holding him up like Simba. I thought that was beautiful, and I really appreciate that. Fighting for the community and what's best. I'm youngest of 7 kids, and amongst us we have over 30 nieces and nephews. So we love children and we love elderly, and that's how we were grown up. I was bullied heavily until middle school, not for the reasons that maybe were mentioned. I was bullied because I looked different. I was an immigrant. My mom would pay me $1 to wear the pants that she had because she couldn't afford, jeans, which was my dream. But, my siblings, my older siblings and my husband was bullied not just by students, but they were bullied by their teachers back in the country, back where I'm from. They weren't just bullied by students, and the teachers didn't just bully them, but they also beat them. And this is factual information. I know it probably sounds shocking, but my own husband was beat, and in the language, Pokaitula was, you filthy Christian, and they were called all sorts of names. So I have a background of that, which is maybe different from what's been mentioned. One of my mom's best friend, who still lives and is a dear friend of mine, her mom was sentenced to jail for 25 years when she was 8 months pregnant, and she was born in a jail cell. They let her go to the hospital to be born, and she grew up till she was 2 in a jail cell simply because she held a prayer meeting. And so these are deep into my soul. My husband's father was poisoned by the communist regime, and those very same people came back to him, and he fed them and clothed them. And so when I say that I love all people, I mean that with my whole heart and soul, and I can cry for hours when I say that. My husband goes to all over the world really to do humanitarian work, but he goes to Iraq. He's been twice, brought thousands of pounds of food there. Absolutely love them, but we don't share the same values. I can't have anyone tell me or my children to worship Allah because we just don't share the same values, yet we love them wholeheartedly. And so what I want to bring home is the comprehensive sex education is against our value system, and as a mom, if this is going to be approved, I'll be forced to take out my children out of a school district that I love wholeheartedly. And I don't want to do that. But to go further, if I was a teacher in the district and I asked the principal actually of this district, she said, if this is approved, yes, the teachers will be obligated to teach this curriculum. And so if I'm a Christian and I'm saying, I love everyone full-heartedly, I'll give my life for people, but it just doesn't stand with the values that I stand for, what would happen to that teacher? So then it would become a religious liberal issue. That's all I want to say. I just want to say every teenager that came up here so brave, I'm really, really proud of them, and thank you so much for letting me speak today.
Thank you, and I apologize for missing you. Oh, we need to take a quick break. 5 minutes, be right back, and the board will take its vote. It's your idea to ask questions first. I'm going to open it up for the board members to ask questions of the district staff at this time.
I had a question. Dr. Spencer-Hines, I think it was you, maybe it was Barb, but when we were discussing about the notification, and I believe it was middle school, but when parents are receiving notification, it said that I think the language used was it would be given with regards to sexual health lessons, and I was just curious, or more wanting to be very specific about which health lessons would qualify for that.
So actually, there's a little table in there, and we highlighted them so that you can see, there's 6 at one grade level, 7 at the other, 9, and those would be the specific ones. And the reason for that language is we heard from our families that just giving me the topic isn't enough, and we heard that again this evening. So we want to give more specific information so a parent can, have their own conversation, with their child before, and so they know exactly, because there's no attempt here to withhold anything that we plan to teach.
No, and I did not believe there was any attempt to withhold. I just wanted to make sure that parents, when they heard that topic, knew where they could look so that they could find the answers to that question and know which topics they would receive notification on. And would it be fair, it's these ones that are highlighted in yellow? Okay. Thank you.
And related to that is the online information. Will that be essentially a syllabus, or how detailed would that be?
Well, thank you for that question. I think that's what's on many of our families' minds, and it will be a detailed outline of the lessons, as Dr. Soyson was saying before, without being able to post, because of copyright laws, the entire materials, but detailed lessons of the topic, or outline of the topics.
You know how course syllabus sort of says this is what we're going to do this week, so that'll be at the semester, but then our intent is to work towards having lessons with worksheets, with that posted online. We will not have that till in complete form until the beginning of the 1920 school year, as we are still adapting and working with that. When you adopt a new curriculum, you don't necessarily post your lessons the first year you're doing it. And we need to know, first of all, the status of our plan in doing that as well.
All right, I'm open for a motion.
I move that we adopt the Comprehensive Human Sexuality Education Plan as set forth this evening.
I'll second.
Discussion?
So, first, gratitude to the parents, the community who have spoken. I think that is a really distinguishing factor of this district, is how engaged the community is. And I believe that the district's health and wellness guidelines are consistent with the 2016 ODE standards, with relevant statutes, with administrative rules. They were developed by district educators and administrators who have expertise in the topics. I think the process, as described by Dr. Spencer Imes and Dr. Soyson, was very open and inclusive. There were many opportunities for public content, and I'm grateful to the way that it was modified based on that community input. So I also appreciate the opportunity to opt out and that the information is fully presented in advance. I think it will definitely be incumbent upon the district to communicate very well and very, very carefully, and what I have confidence that that's going to occur, and so I'll be voting in favor. And thank you very much for the work that you've done.
I too would like to thank our superintendent and staff for their work. This has been a lengthy process. We did not rush into this, and I'm grateful. I am grateful for the time you took to slow the process down when you heard that there was new interest and more parents and community members who wanted to give feedback. I know you've spent hours working on developing this curriculum, as well as providing your time to meet one-on-one or with groups of parents and community members. I also know you've taken great effort to, once you get that feedback, to then adjust and modify the direction of the curriculum over the course of this project. I'd also like to thank our parents and our students. You have reached out to our staff, whether it be in person, in email, by attending one of our 5 community meetings, whether showing up and voicing your opinion and sharing your thoughts at school board meetings. What I found most remarkable about this process was that everyone I encountered, regardless of their view on any one piece of the proposed curriculum, always placed the well-being of our students first. Numerous times it was stressed to me with all sincerity that we want all of our students to feel loved. We want our children to feel safe, and we want our students to feel welcomed. And I believe that regardless of your perspective, I genuinely believe we are a community, and one of our best assets is the knowledge that collectively we need to put our children first. We may not always agree on how to go about doing that, but that definitely is a priority, and that's something that makes us very special. I would also like to comment that our community, or I would like to thank our community for its ability to civilly and respectfully engage in a prolonged conversation on sensitive and sometimes politically charged issues around human sexuality. Not all communities are capable of doing that in a respectful and meaningful way. And again, everyone here needs to commend themselves for the way in which they conducted themselves in having these conversations. In working towards approving a health and wellness curriculum, I took it upon myself to do my best job to educate myself. Any parent who sent me a letter, I read it thoroughly. If you sent me a link to an article, I read the article. If you sent me a link to a video, I watched the video. I sat down and met with anybody who wanted to meet with me directly. I answered phone calls from anybody who wanted to talk more about this. I did my best to educate myself as we as a school board moved towards approving this curriculum. Our community throughout this process has stressed a desire for a science-based approach to teaching on all the health and wellness standards. And we did hear tonight from the district that they will provide a straightforward science-based reading and writing assignments based on texts. The information which will be shared with our students over the course of the teaching of this curriculum will not include values or beliefs or elicit values and beliefs. I believe the district has addressed common concerns amongst our patrons in this regard in the proposed curriculum. Our community has asked that the health and wellness topics be provided to parents sufficiently in advance of lessons being taught. You've heard tonight from the district that it will do that, both at the beginning of courses, beginning of the school year or beginning of the semester in the middle school, as well as at least 1 week in advance of the teaching of specific subjects. I believe our parents' concerns with regards to advance notice have been addressed by this proposed curriculum. Our community has asked for age-appropriate curriculum. I do feel that we as a school board are somewhat, maybe even as a district actually, are somewhat bound by what is age-appropriate. Our state of Oregon has already determined what is age-appropriate at the end of each grade level. That is not discretionary for us. What is discretionary is how we choose to communicate and teach that curriculum. If you have an issue with it being age appropriate, the standards, this board is not the body to address that. You need to go to your state representatives and your state legislators. They're the ones who can change the law around that. This board has examined the curriculum that's being proposed, and I have looked through it. I've read each and every single page. I haven't read them. I looked through each and every single page of those textbooks. I did read sections that called to my attention the issues that were most predominantly raised by our community. I will say that in this entire health and wellness curriculum, there's about this much. 100% of the curriculum, you're talking about 5%, maybe 3% of the curriculum that is actually up for debate amongst our community. And I do believe that after reviewing it, that it is age appropriate, and we have heard here from our district representatives that it has been vetted by teachers, counselors, and district administrators. I believe that addresses some of the concerns of our community. Our community has also asked that the health and wellness curriculum be standardized and be the same across all grade levels. And our district has represented this evening that all teachers at grade levels across the district will teach the same sexuality education using the same materials, and that they would do so without personal opinions or bias. And I believe that that matches or responds directly to input and feedback that our community is seeking. Our community wants to ensure the health and wellness learning environment is safe and comfortable for all learners. And our district shared tonight that all activities and lessons will prioritize students feeling safe and comfortable with the learning. I feel that this curriculum, the end product, will be crafted carefully, thoughtfully, intelligently, and that it has taken into account and addresses the myriad of feedback received from our community. One other thing in particular I did in part of preparing and educating myself around this curriculum is I had the opportunity to speak with a diverse group of students from 2 of our high schools, and what I gained from that experience, I will tell you, probably formed my opinion 100% on the approval of this curriculum. It was really, really hard to disregard the students' voice and their asks, and it touched me deeply, but it also, it was hard. Some of it was trauma-informed, and there's that question of, if I had only learned, if I had only known, maybe I wouldn't have been harmed. Maybe I wouldn't have been victimized. And that is really hard. Like, first of all, they're youths, and I don't care what happened to them. It was never their fault. But that ideology that somehow maybe our education could help them address the myriad of things that they encounter in their life. So I just want to share some of the feedback from our students, because I think it's important that everybody in this room has the opportunity to hear some of it. And I did notice that it didn't matter which high school I went to, even the students' responses were the same. Students collectively shared the desire for more information around sexual education, STI and pregnancy prevention at a younger age. They suggested moving learning around the drug and alcohol education to later years in high school and sex education earlier. They felt learning about sex in high school was too late, as many of their peers are already engaging in sexual activity. Students shared they currently received meaningful information on these topics during their junior year healthy living class, whereas the Wellness 1 and 2 courses taken during the freshman and sophomore years emphasize anatomy. They would like the junior year healthy living curriculum delivered in their freshman year. They also advised that receiving abstinence instruction in high school is not particularly helpful for the students who have already chosen to forego abstinence. Students shared that their engagement in their wellness lessons was better when there was more discussion opportunities around the subject matter. Classes with instruction that was delivered using worksheets and definitions was not as compelling. Students shared